In November, Sun Onisto is seen in the orbit of the main ring of National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Mariner 9 spacecraft about 8 kilometers away from the surface. There is a curiosity in the minds of scientists. This is the first time that any spacecraft is about to see the surface of Mars so closely. In mission control, everyone is fixated on the screen, awaiting each critical update. Just like Mariner 9 is about to send its first pictures, there is a sense of excitement among the scientists. There was nothing visible on the screen except for some haze. No valley, no mountain, and no sign of a crater. All that could be seen was a faint beam of sunlight, which was covering the entire surface. This was a kind of mega dust storm on Mars, so massive that it had plunged the entire planet into darkness. Mariner 9 had just started its work when Mars showed its first glimpse of its power. Do you also think that Mars is showing us signs of making another home for humanity? But how dangerous could it really be? That's why space agencies are spending billions of dollars to research it, for which people like Elon Musk are working day and night. There are some such amazing facts that make our missions even more successful. Today we will talk about the atmosphere of Mars, its ultimate forces which do not allow our rovers and spacecraft to challenge the surface there. Even the Earth's technology sometimes fails on Mars. This is about the dangers of Mars, which can even destroy the most advanced technology of humanity. That's true. The red color of Mars is a mysterious veil that has always attracted humans to uncover its secrets. In ancient civilizations, it was considered a symbol of power and mystery. The people of ancient Rome considered Mars to be the god of war, while the civilizations of Babylon associated this color with destruction and power. The people of ancient Egypt also considered it a symbol of divinity, when it was recognized as a symbol of prosperity and energy in Indian astrology. But today, as we talk about it, we know that Mars is not only a beautiful and bright star, but also a planet. Its atmosphere is so thin that it is almost impossible for any human to survive there without a spacesuit. In fact, sometimes this temperature can drop even further, reaching minus 140 degrees Celsius. The surface of Mars is just like a barren desert. Here you will find the largest volcano, Olympus Mons, which is bigger than any mountain, peak or hill on Earth. But the real mystery of Mars lies in its environment. It's so hostile that even our most advanced machines struggle to survive here. In 1971, the Soviet Union's top technology was no match for it. On Mars, these storms keep coming every few years. Because of these, our precious machines can get buried in the red soil. And when these storms come, they slowly cover the entire surface in dust. But these deadly storms are just the beginning. On the surface of Mars, there are even more dangers that make it even more difficult for our mission and for the search for life. In today's episode, we'll look at the dangers that make Mars the biggest challenge for humanity. Let's start with the biggest and most dangerous threat on Mars. It's mega dust storms. In 2018, National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Opportunity rover, our ISA Yodha, who had been working on the surface of Mars for 15 years, but that's how a storm happened. A storm so intense that it covered the surface of Mars in darkness. The solar panels of Opportunity were covered with dust and it could not be charged again, which means that now our dream of finding life on another planet has become even more difficult due to dust accumulating on the solar panels. If you look closely, you'll see that these sand dunes on Mars are different from the sand dunes on Earth. On Mars, sand dunes are formed by wind and air. According to Lakin Mangal, the atmosphere of Mars is so thin that even if the wind blows at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, you won't feel much pressure. According to Lakin, Martian dust is so light that it can easily mix with the wind and float in the air for a long time. The surface of Mars is so cold that it freezes anything that comes in contact with it instantly. It can get into your equipment, into the solar panels of the machinery, and even into the joints of your spacesuit, causing damage everywhere. In 2001, a storm that came to Mars was so massive that it increased the global temperature of Mars by up to 30 degrees. These storms can even make it difficult for humans and vehicles to function properly. After that, the dust settled and they were able to see the surface of Mars again. If we ever build a colony on Mars, how will these storms affect our colony? We will have to make our habitats on Mars out of strong panels. There will have to be visibility zero, and if these storms come with any warning, then we can prepare in advance. The life of astronauts is also in danger in such conditions, and as the storm gets worse, the risk of radiation exposure will also increase. Due to the presence of dust in the equipment, there may be a risk of malfunction. Space agencies like National Aeronautics and Space Administration and European Space Agency are working on this problem. Dust-resistant materials, electrostatic cleaning systems, and underground habitats are being considered as solutions so that no one gets harmed by these problems on the moon. But even now, we don't have any perfect solution for this. The dust storms on Mars are so unpredictable that they can come at any time, and when they do, they can last for months. The distance to Mars is also a big challenge. On Earth, we are protected from cosmic rays and solar radiation by the magnetic field and its thick atmosphere. But Mars lost its magnetic field a long time ago. Scientists believe that when its core cooled down, its magnetic field must have disappeared as well. After the loss of the magnetic field, its atmosphere also could not provide any protection here. The Martian atmosphere is so thin that it cannot stop radiation, because of which the surface is severely affected by radiation. On the surface of Mars, the radiation can reach up to 700 units. National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Curiosity rover studied the radiation levels on Mars between 2012 and 2013. These were quite shocking. The amount of radiation you get on Mars in a day, you don't even get that much on Earth in a year. If any human stays on Mars without proper protection, then in a few months they can suffer from cancer, DNA damage, and other serious diseases. This radiation is also dangerous for our spacecrafts apart from humans. Because of this, glitches can occur in the electronic systems as well, like what happened with the Mars Odyssey orbiter in 2003. When a solar flare caused temporary damage to its instruments. We know that radiation is the biggest challenge for future colonies on Mars, and to deal with this, National Aeronautics and Space Administration and European Space Agency are working on lead-lined suits, radiation shields, and underground bunkers. Some scientists believe that Mangal's lava tubes, which are natural underground caves on Mars, can be used for living because they can provide us with protection from radiation. But these solutions are expensive and not completely practical either. Like in 1869 when Dmitry Mendeleev discovered the periodic table through a brilliant event. So if a similar solar flare hits Earth in the future, our entire technology could fail in the same way. The atmosphere of Mars is also not very dense. During the day, its surface temperature can reach up to 20 degrees Celsius. But at night, this temperature can drop to minus 140 degrees Celsius. This extreme temperature swing is dangerous for humans and machines alike. Thermal blankets, radioisotope heaters, beaters, and advanced insulation are used to protect rovers like Perseverance from this. And only then can they work in these extreme temperatures on Mars. On Mars, it is impossible to protect every piece of equipment from this way for a colony. For these humans, spacesuits will have to be designed in such a way that they can quickly protect their bodies and organs. If leak in suit fails further, then astronauts' life will be in danger instantly. Apart from this, chemicals like perchlorates are also found in the soil of Mars, which can be extremely dangerous in cold and heat. Now, chlorates are oxidizing agents and pure oxidizing agents. I think it's possible that if this happens, it can also corrode our equipment or even cause oxygen to accumulate in the equipment, which can be dangerous. In 2008, Phoenix lander discovered this chemical. And since then, scientists are certain that this makes Mars a much more dangerous place for colonization. For space agency, this is a big problem because on Mars, we will have to protect every piece of equipment from it. The surface of Mars is directly affected by the extremely low atmospheric pressure. This means that if someone tries to make an astronaut step out of the spacesuit, their blood will start boiling instantly. So due to the low pressure, not only is there a lack of oxygen, but liquid water also cannot remain stable on its surface. And this is the reason why it is difficult for snow or vapor to form on the surface of Mars. This low pressure will also make construction and living on Mars very difficult. Here, we will have to make our habitat so strong that they can withstand this pressure difference. If even a small leak happens somewhere, then the entire habitat is in danger. In 1999, National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Mars Climate Orbiter crashed due to a simple pressure calculation mistake. The mission failed due to a mix-up between metric and imperial units. But because of that mistake, the pressure became much higher. That's why low pressure is such a dangerous thing which should never be ignored. The surface of Mars and its craters are not well defined. Here on Mars, you can also find volcanic rocks. National Aeronautics and Space Administration's InSight mission has recorded more than 1,300 Marsquakes on Mars from 2018 to 2022. The biggest Marsquake had a magnitude of 7, which is enough to shake up earthquakes on Earth. But for a planet like Mars, this is considered a significant discovery. Because of this, underground caves like lava tubes, which are the largest caves on the Red Planet, are being considered. He wasn't even active before, but its geological history shows that the Martian surface is not stable at all. Underground lava, tops, voids, and sinkholes are found all over its surface, which is a big danger for the construction of a Martian colony. If the habitat is built in a place where the ground is not stable, then the structure can collapse. Because of this, we have also seen landslides and avalanches on Mars. In 2019, the Curiosity rover observed evidence of a landslide near Valles Marineris. These landslides are also not less dangerous than any other on Mars. Space agencies will have to study Mars's surface and geography in detail so that safe zones can be identified on Mars. These surface cracks on Mars are not just physical but also psychological. Astronauts living on Mars will be about 20 kilometers away from the surface due to the dirty atmosphere. They will talk to their loved ones, and the 6 to 24 minute communication delay will further increase their frustration and loneliness. And especially when they are in trouble. This means that if there is an emergency ahead, you will not be able to get immediate help from Earth. Isolation, claustrophobia, and stress can have a big impact on mental health. Staying in space for a long time can cause depression, anxiety, and personal conflicts. So from this, we can understand that survival on Mars will be a daily struggle. National Aeronautics and Space Administration and other space agencies are working on this. Laikin Mangal's isolation is so extreme that no one can fully prepare for living on Mars just by training. If any astronaut has a mental breakdown there, it can be dangerous for the entire colony. The lack of resources on Mars is a major horror. On Earth, we get water, oxygen, and food easily. But on Mars, water is mostly found in the form of polar ice caps or beneath the ground as frozen water. In 2021, the Perseverance rover conducted an experiment to produce oxygen from the Martian atmosphere. But producing enough oxygen for a colony is still a big challenge. No one has yet fully achieved these things on Earth either. But on Mars, all of this is even more difficult. People living on Mars will never be completely safe. Even eating food here is not easy. Mars's soil has fewer nutrients and its percolates make it even more toxic. The place for hydroponics and farming is limited, so building such systems and maintaining them will be quite challenging. If any system fails, then there is a risk of complete food shortage. Now the question is, who will fulfill these needs of the human colony? National Aeronautics and Space Administration's spacecrafts, Indian Space Research Organization, and China's spacecrafts are continuously working to colonize Mars. Elon Musk dreams of building a human colony on Mars as soon as possible. But looking at these efforts, does this dream seem realistic to you? While it's not possible to eliminate Martian dust storms, dust-resistant materials, electrostatic cleaning, and underground habitats can help mitigate the issues. To deal with radiation, lead-lined suits, bunkers, and lava tubes can be considered as solutions. And in the same way, to survive on Mars, we must learn from these technologies. But apart from this, there is much more to consider. These challenges on Mars are so immense that even a small mistake can put the lives of the entire colony in danger. In 2003, the Columbia shuttle disaster, and in 1999, the crash of the Mars polar lander remind us that in space exploration, there is no margin of error, and things will be even more dangerous and bigger on Mars. The surface of Mars is not a destination. Wherever we go and find life, that's where we will stop and keep searching. But this is a journey where we will not stop at any one place. This is a place where after reaching, all the difficulties of life seem to end. But will we ever reach such a place? Mangal Hamesha will be made from a new material. The question is, will we be able to survive in such harsh conditions? If you like this video, then do like and share it in your groups. Also, for such informative videos, do subscribe to our channel and make sure to press the bell notification. We will meet friends soon.